Today I'm going to give you my blueprint for activating my own brain, for making my brain more creative and faster. And after having watched this video or listened to it, you will likely have the tools that you need to do the same thing. So before I get into it, I first want to give you another good tool that you can use when watching YouTube videos like these. So in most cases, you don't actually have to see the video. You don't have to watch the video. Because what you really need right now when listening to me is to hear my voice. You could as well be doing something else. You could be, jogging on the treadmill in the gym or something like that. Although your mental focus has to be there. You can't be focusing on something else. And I would not recommend you do this while eating, for example, because this is just a side note, but what happens usually when you eat and listen to something is that you stop eating as fast, because when you chew your food, especially when it's like a crunchy type of food, it makes a rather high, a rather loud noise in your skull, and then you can't hear it as well. So then to prevent that from happening, you just eat less aggressively. And I think you should eat aggressively, as we should with when doing all things, if we want to achieve success. So what you can do then is to either just have YouTube up on your phone and not look at it when you have your headphones on or your AirPods, or which I would recommend, you could go into Safari and then youtube.com, and then you can click on the video and then just close your screen, and this, at least it works on an iPhone. So close the screen, and then the video will pop up as a song on Spotify when your screen is closed. So then you can listen to it with your screen black. So that's very useful. Now the second thing is that you should listen to all of these videos, if you can, in 2x speed. So I've talked about this extensively before, but I will just recap it here. So I listened to the Ben Shapiro podcast a while ago, and Ben Shapiro, if you know him, he talks very fast, and I had him on 2x speed. And after that, I think the podcast was maybe 2 hours, and I listened to it during 1 hour, because I listened to it on 2x speed. And after that, I could just feel my brain being so much faster. Every thought I had just came so much quicker. And yeah, it really helps. So it makes your brain faster. Listening to people talk in a faster way will just make you think faster automatically. So what I would recommend you do with this video is that you close YouTube, you go to Safari, youtube.com, you click on my library or something like that, like history, YouTube history, and then you click on the video, you close it down, and this should work, especially at least if you have an iPhone. And then you just listen to it, you put it on 2x speed, because this topic is pretty complicated, so you don't necessarily have to put it on 2x speed, but if you can, you should at least challenge yourself to try to understand it 2x speed, because I think that if you can understand this concept that I'm trying to teach you right now while listening to it in 2x speed, then you're very bright, and it's very good to practice like that. So usually when I make these videos, I have some bullet points, and then I have the idea in my head, and then just recap it in my head before I record, and then I talk extemporaneously with some bullet points. But now so when I was about to write the bullet points for this video, I just automatically started ranting or not ranting, but describing the concept in detail in text, like an essay form text. And I thought about, should I just talk about it like freely and disregarding the things I had written, or should I read it out to you? And for this video, I'm actually gonna read out the text for you. because I think that's the best way to give it the value. Because I don't think what you need not right now is more dopamine. You don't need overlays and sound effects and so on. You actually need value, and I am sure that this video is going to give you a lot of value. So just listen to this, preferably with 2x speed if you can manage, then that's really good. And then you can pause and try to understand the concepts and try to think, how can I apply this in my life? Okay, so here it is. We all have intense moments of realization. These are often so strong that right there and then we feel like we have cracked the secret of the universe, and that there is now nothing stopping us from getting everything we ever wanted. Nevertheless, 2 weeks later, we're back to our normal lives, and the moment descends into our subconscious like a profound dream that we just can't remember. If we were to write down these insights, we would not only get their immediate benefits, but would also get an enduring sense of hope. Because even if these insights were not as fruitful as perceived in the moment, they remind us that there is something inside us that will bring us out of the crippling monotony that is our lives. We should also try to decipher under what circumstances these revelations come to us. I've done this myself, and I've noticed that these types of highly creative clouds of thoughts only seem to come to me in deep states of boredom. Stimulating the brain too much appears to be a main inhibitor of creativity. So what should we do about this? Should we just meditate all the time and wait for creative thoughts to appear to us? To answer that question, let me use an analogy. What would you guess is a more productive lifestyle for a great philosopher? Sitting at his desk with a candle, waiting passively for brilliant thoughts to appear in his mind? Or traveling the world, spending time with new, interesting, and multifaceted people, and getting new impressions? Although the first lifestyle might work for some, the second lifestyle is the one that has worked best for me. The reason for this might be that whatever is forced recoils. Try to forcibly pat a dog, or to play with a kid that doesn't want to be played with. It's likely the same with creativity. You have to entice it out of its caverns. What can we then do practically in our own life to become more creative? Well, maybe I should first point out why even bother being creative. The reason for this is not heightening of the senses or inner fulfillment or anything like that. I don't want to live a life inside my own head. I want to conquer, and I want my results to speak for themselves, which will always be the most powerful type of communication. And I assume that you want the same. It's like, do you want the most beautiful woman in the real world or in a VR world? The answer is obvious. So don't try to find happiness inside your own head. That will just make you more depressed and ultimately ruin your life. Honestly, I find this so interesting. All throughout our childhood, we were told the opposite, that material things weren't gonna make us happy, and that we should just try to be as happy as possible internally. This is indeed the common narrative nowadays, yet it's diametrically opposite to our own nature as human beings, which I think everything must bow to. If our ancestors weren't always hungry for more, they would have died. If the men didn't try to spread their seed as much as possible, their genes would automatically be excluded from the gene pool. Frankly, this sort of philosophical discussion repels me strongly, and I will stop talking in those terms immediately. I will just assume that you want what I want: women and money. Call it selfish, call it barbaric, but I know that every man that doesn't think in this way is either lying or has been so profoundly feminized to the point where he no longer has interest in the most primal, deep-rooted type of conquest, that he ceases to be a man. The creativity that you and I are interested in is thus merely a tool for material and biological success, but is still very important. The reason why creativity is so important for you and I as men is that creativity is what sets us apart. It's what sets us apart in the sexual playing field, in the business world, in the eyes of high status individuals. Creativity is, together with a couple of other crucial characteristics, what will get you out of the hellhole that is the life of an average man. So, back to the main question. How can we practically live our lives so that our creativity flourishes? Rather counterintuitively, the first two steps for increasing our creativity are a long-term plan and a day-to-day schedule. Let me explain. Firstly, you have to have a concrete goal in mind, and you have to know that the actions that you take at least have a high enough chance of bringing you toward that goal that they become worthwhile, so that your actions are congruent with your goals. If that is not the case, your brain will start to resist, and you will get depressed, which isn't problematic in itself. Remember, emotions are only emotions, but it's a good indication that you're not heading in the right direction. What I'm doing right now, for example, is not part of a direct pathway to economic success. But still, I feel that I'm heading in the right direction, because my brain is telling me that. The skills of writing, formulating my ideas, expanding my mind, and expressing myself in the clearest and most precise way possible have a high likelihood of bringing me success later on. Second, you need a day-to-day schedule. The reason for this is simple. Time can be so evanescent, but when you plan out your day, time becomes your friend. If you have 10 free hours in a day, and you make a schedule for those, you start to realize just how much you can do. You need to have a system in place, a system that works well, before you jump into the creative domain. A guitar player that wants to be creative first needs to learn the basics. He needs to master them. And then he can be a little creative. The more boring stuff he learns, the more silly mistakes he eliminates, the more creative he can allow himself to be. And once he gets really good, the sky's the limit as far as creativity goes. Next, you need to shut off technology as much as possible. Only use technology when you actually need it, and make sure to look up whatever you're gonna look up, and then turn off your phone. Even if some of the stuff that you'll see on social media might help you, which is probably less than 1%, that pales in comparison to what you'll get from just sitting and thinking. And if you don't believe me, it means one of two things. Either you're just really stupid, but I have a sense that you're not, because you've been able to listen for however many minutes without clicking away. And these ideas are pretty abstract. And if you're interested in abstract ideas, it's likely that you're intelligent as well. The other reason why you might not believe me when I say that you're gonna get these crazy new ideas if you let your brain be bored for some time is that you haven't actually tried it. Think about it. How many times have you just sat and thought with a problem in mind, without any technology, without any friends, just you by yourself? Not that many, right? So, here are the 3 steps to becoming a genius. Number 1, decide on your most long-term goal, let's say your life goal, and work your way down from there. creating partial goals that will bring you closer to that ultimate goal. I want to buy a $100 million penthouse in Manhattan. Good. I need a lot of money for that. How do I get money? I don't know at the moment, so I got to test a bunch of different ideas. What was the limiting factor in the ones I tested, in the ideas that I tested? It was my communication and persuasion skills. Okay, how do I improve on that? I can read every day, I can write every day, I can talk to new people as much as possible. I can try to put myself in their shoes. Step 2. Okay, so I need to do all these things. When am I gonna do them? At what time in the day? So you make a schedule, and I would recommend taking 5 to 10 minutes at the end of each day to create a schedule for the next day. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can literally just be writing in a Google document. And take a couple of minutes reflecting on how well you did today with regard to following your schedule, as well as how much intensity you put into the things that you did. It's like, how bad do you want it? If you want it more than anything else, you have to do it with utmost intensity, no matter what the thing is, as opposed to just showing up. Even when eating, as I've talked about before, you have to do it aggressively. Tying your shoes, do it aggressively and quickly, because you don't have that much time left to get rich. Step 3. You have to put some time away for pure thinking. And thinking can be in the form of writing as well. And there are ups and downs to both, of course. With just thinking, you can obviously think faster than you can write, although it's a good idea to improve on your writing speed as well. That speed allows you to have more associations, because the ideas and the thought process is not slowed down by the speed of your fingers. On the other hand, if you write things down, then you not only get to develop your typing speed, which is extremely useful for a bunch of reasons, but your thought process also becomes more coherent, because it's significantly harder to go astray when you're writing than when you're speaking. Another benefit, and this is very useful too, is that you can always go back to what you were thinking at that moment in time. But I would recommend doing both. So that's it. Do these things, decide on a long-term goal, and create partial goals based on that main goal. Create a schedule for the next day every night before bed. And finally, allocate some time to thinking and writing with a problem in mind. Do these 3 things, and I guarantee you that you will become much more creative. Okay, so let me know what you thought about that. Write in the comments if you liked it, or if you would prefer me speaking just extemporaneously, just freely, without reading off a script like this. Because I think that the quality of the value that you get is higher when I do like this. But maybe it's a bit more animated and easier to digest and interesting if I speak freely. So let me know what you think in the comments.